You scroll through hundreds of job descriptions, but they all sound the same. You spend so much time on every application, but it doesn't seem to matter. You send off application after application, but never hear back. You thought the interview went so well, but it's a no. You jump through all the hoops. The news keeps saying how there are all these employers that are struggling to find people to hire. So why does finding a great job have to be so hard? It doesn't seem very logical or fair. It's not. The system is broken. It's not your fault. The process most people go through to get a job is awful. But here's the good news. The system isn't very smart. In fact, it's downright dumb. It can be beaten. How? Most prospective employers and employees today are using the same old tired strategies that have been around forever. It's like professional camouflage. Everybody just blends into the crowd. But you don't have to be that way anymore. You can get traction. You can stand out from the crowd to unleash your God-given potential, to help a world in need, to do work that matters, to earn what you and your family deserve. You can do this. You're meant to do this. There are bright things on the horizon for you. This is the way. Welcome to the workshop. Get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. My name is Eric Woodard. I'm a high-performance career and leadership coach based out of Washington, D.C. And if you're here today on this Tuesday, just want to acknowledge you for being here. Know how valuable your time is. If you're somebody who's watching the replay, you're also very cool. Not quite as cool as the people who are actually here, but also very cool. So glad to have you all here. I want to make sure that everybody can hear. Donna, hopefully you can hear us now. So if you would put in the chat where you're from and how long you've been on the job search, if you would please, because we're about to get started now. And I want to make sure everybody can hear me, because that's always the nightmare, right? You do a big workshop and like nobody can hear you, but I'm pretty sure hopefully people can hear. So how long have you been on the job hunt and where you're from? Because we're about to get started right now. I see you there, Don in Utah and Sarah in Michigan, Raina in Florida. I got you all. Hi there, Cameron in Miami. You know, because sometimes being on a job hunt can feel like pounding sand. Rebecca in New York, right? And Joy in Kentucky, and Susan in Ohio, and Michael and Kevin in Savannah. Sometimes it can feel like waiting on a glacier, Luba in Florida, and Robert in Arizona, and Israel in Orlando. Sometimes it can feel like wandering in the desert, Bernardo in New York, and Lori in New Hampshire, and Michael in Minnesota, and Josh in Cleveland. Keone in Atlanta. Sometimes it can feel like going into the arena, Maria in Utah. Sometimes Swayam in Dallas, it can feel like looking into an abyss. Sometimes it's really hard. Hi there, Dina. Hopefully you can hear us, right? In Virginia, right here in Virginia. So who is this for? If you are someone who's unsure about the direction you want your career to go, if you're struggling to find ways to describe what you do, if you're uncertain if your resume is any good, if you've been wrestling with how to follow up after you apply, Robert in Houston, if you're tired of applying and then you hear nothing back, if you've been doing interviews that seem to go great and then you get a big fat no, if you're trapped in a job that you really don't like and you're not sure how you can escape, Tony, I hope that's not you in Massachusetts. And most of all, if you're losing hope, this is a workshop for you, Julia in Philadelphia. On the other hand, if you're somebody who's just super casual about your career, not willing to do the work, sort of reluctant to take responsibility for the results you've been getting, just interested in finding a job to make money, sort of stuck in your ways and sort of know all the reasons why your job search hasn't been working, unwilling to be authentic, this may not be the workshop for you, my friend. So what you're going to learn today is how to get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies and 9 tactics that are going to you can put to work today to elevate your job search so that you can do work that matters and pays what you and your family deserve. And I just want to add that this is such a great time to be on a job hunt, right? I know my kids just had their first day of school yesterday. Like summer's going to be ending. People are going to be focused. So like September, October, November, man, it's a great time to be job hunting, right? So our agenda for today, some of you know who I am. A lot of you probably don't. You're like, who the hell is this guy? I'm just going to tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from and how Yeah, how like I've like handled job stuff, not a long time, just a little bit. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies, 9 tactics. I also have an invitation for you. Like some of you I know, you've already messaged me, have signed up for this workshop because you've either had friends or relatives that have gotten hired real damn fast working with us and you're interested in our program. If that's you, I'm going to invite you to book a call with us. I'm going to talk about this later in the workshop. So if you're not interested, you can ignore this part. But if you're looking to book a call, the only things I ask is one, that you're going to show up. You're not going to book a call and then like leave like one of my team members hanging. 2, you're ready to get started. And 3, you're going to be at least open to making an investment in yourself so that somebody can make an investment in you and pay you a lot of money in a job that you're looking for. So, but we'll talk about that later. But anyhow, we just dropped the link in there if that's something you're interested in. Gary, we see you there in Indiana, 2 months on the job hunt for you. Okay, and then we're going to have time for Q&A, right? And we've got a little bit of a smaller crowd today because we just did this workshop Thursday. So we usually do it once a week, but last week was a big one. So this is a small one. So if you've got questions, we don't have such a massive crowd here today, so we'll be able to get to you. So who is this guy and why does he think he can help me find a job? Well, look, I grew up in Asia. I came to the States when I was 18 to attend college. And I was kind of a weirdo. I transferred college 7 times. Right. This is me in the Midwest looking really sad because it's so cold and there's no leaves on the trees. Right. Had a really hard time earlier in my career. This was a long time ago. I wound up as a scuba instructor on the island of Guam. And that was pretty good. Like I swam underwater for about 10,000 hours and there was a lot of fish. It was beautiful. And after a couple years of doing that, my brain got a little spongy. Right. I see there, Karina. Right. My brain got a little spongy. And so I thought, well, what would be the most, I got to do something else with my life. So what would be the most prestigious job I could have? And I thought, well, that must be something like the White House. So obviously I took out a piece of paper and hand wrote a letter to the White House saying, "Dear Mr. President, you should hire me." And it was probably a pretty horrible cover letter. And I mailed that off to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I figured, well, I'm never hearing back from those guys. But about a month later, I was going past the Guam post office and the guy came out with a letter. And he's like, "Eric, you just got a letter from the White House." And I opened it up and it was an internship application. Now, I didn't know what the hell an internship was, but I was really good at filling out applications because I transferred college so many times. So I filled that out, sent it in. I was sure I was never going to hear back from those guys, but that got me thinking, a little bit inspired. I applied to some grad schools, got into GW here in Washington, D.C., and sort of landed with this big bushy haircut, was dumpster diving for furniture, bought a pair of running shoes and was out running past the White House one day. And I was like, those White House bastards, they never even bothered to let me know about that internship thing. What is up with that? So I said, well, I'm going to give them what for. So I found a payphone, put in a quarter, called them up. I said, "Hey, you White House people, what about that internship thing?" And they're like, "Is this Eric from Guam?" I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "Where are you?" And they're like, "Well, I'm in like DC now." They're like, "Man, we've been trying to get in touch with you. You're supposed to start in the First Lady's office on Monday." So I was like, well, that's interesting. So I went and got a haircut and bought a suit and I showed up. Now, look, my friends, I don't know if my politics match yours. This was a long time ago. I know there's a lot of crazy political stuff going on in our country right now. So my politics don't match yours. Please forgive me. And this was back during the Clinton administration. I went to work for Hillary Rodham Clinton. She was a great boss, right? I wound up interning on her staff, got hired on her staff, was one of the few guys in Hillary land, right? Stayed with her for a number of years at the White House, followed her to the U.S. Senate, where I did a bunch of stuff in the Senate, right? And then followed her to the U.S. State Department, where I did a bunch of UNESCO stuff, was there for a number of years. And then eventually I left Hillary Land, wound up as the director of fellowships and internships at the Smithsonian Institution. I did that for about 8 years. And all during this time, people trying to figure out career stuff, people at all levels, early professionals, mid-career professionals, CEOs, executives, all different industries, right? Tech, the arts, education, business. I would see the same movie over and over where people were really struggling to figure out job stuff. So I give a lot of talks. I do a lot of coaching. I've written a lot of books. I have an outrageous number of pieces of paper, very impressive credentials. I have glowing testimonials, and you don't care about any of that. Because what you care about is, can I help you? I don't know, maybe, probably. Helps a lot of other people get hired. We actually had like 6 people in our program last week get jobs. It was amazing. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about how that happened and how it can happen for you. 4 strategies to elevate your job search. So folks, the way this works is I'm going to go pretty fast. Please put questions in the chat if you have them. And there's a little bit of a lag time. And if we don't get to your questions, we have Jessa and Jelly helping us today. They're going to mark your questions for later. So we'll get to them, right? I've got a little bit of time if we go over. So we're going to do that. I'm going to plug in my computer so I don't lose power, because that would be so sad. All right, 4 strategies. Here we go. All right, guys. So I'm going to ask you for this answer in the chat. I tend to give away things to people who get the right answer. Put it in the chat if you would please. What's a good resume about? Put it in the chat if you would please. Let's see if anybody gets the right answer. A lot of times on these workshops, they don't. I'm curious if somebody was going to get the right answer today. What is a good resume about? Put it in the chat if you would please. So Sarah says your experience. Karina says your accomplishments. Dan says it's a sales pitch. Michael says get an interview. Stoney says narrative. Eric says objective, solving problems. Right? Don says JD says tells a story, tells who you are. Rebecca says how your experience relates to the job. So I haven't seen the right answer yet, guys. Right? That's okay. Nathan says highlighted reasons to talk to me. Showcasing, says Thomas. Nobody's got the right answer yet that I've seen. Okay. Not yet. I'll give you guys just a few more seconds. What you can do for the company, right? Fill the need. Okay. So here's the thing. And Mark might have been the closest. No one knows, says David. What a lot of you are saying is a good resume is about you. A good resume is about me. John says it's not about anything, right? So here's the thing. Yeah. So Frederick says it's my talent. No, guys, a good resume is not about you. And by the way, it's not about your assets, Josh. Sorry, right? It's not about you. And it's not even about how you can help them. It's just about them, right? A good resume is about them. You want to be influential with another person or organization in any situation, the first thing you're going to want to talk about is them, right? You want to talk about them. And when I say resume, this is everywhere. It's your cover letter. It's your follow-up. It's your interview. It's even negotiating the offer. We want to make it about them. So this is strategy number 1. It's not about you. It's about them, right? You get nothing out of this workshop today other than this. It'll be worth your time. So many job seekers think that an application is about them. Nah, because employers are focused on themselves. So the opportunity for you is to also focus on those employers, right? Make the application about them. We're going to talk a lot more about this, right? And it's no wonder that a lot of us sort of presume, yeah, Rosalina, it's not what you can do for the company. It's just about the company, right? You want to take yourself out of it, right? So a lot of times I run into that. People say, well, it's what I can do. No, it's just what's possible for them. It's a real subtle distinction, right? In school, it is about us, right? It's our cubby, it's our worksheet, it's our, desk, it's our transcript, it's our trophy, it's our diploma. And yet when we move to the working world, it's not about us. It's about the client, the constituent, the customer, the shareholder, right? So, and very likely the first resume you ever did, just like me, was out of school. And so we made it all about us. Yet when we move to the working world, and the seasoned pros among you know this firsthand, it's not about us. It's about them, right? It's about them. It's about the mission. It's not about us as individuals. Okay, guys, here's another one. Let's see if I can give something away on this one. I bet I can. If I went to a library and there was a shelf of storybooks, and I went and pulled out one of those storybooks, there would be some words on the front cover. What do we call those words on the front cover of a storybook? What do we call those things? What are those words called on the front cover of a storybook? Put it in the chat if you would, please. Yeah, you guys are going to get this one right, hopefully, right? Rebecca Hardison and Sarah. Rebecca and Sarah, you're the first 2 I saw. We're going to send you a free mini course on how to make your LinkedIn profile awesome, right? Rebecca and Sarah were the first 2 I saw. Don't worry, guys. There's more giveaways. But I see a lot of you getting it right. Karina and Kevin and Thomas and Michael. Yeah, it's a title. Now, isn't it interesting that that's the same term we use to label people in the workplace, which tells me that just like we put a label on a story and we call it a title, we do the same thing at work. And this brings us to the idea of stories, right? Hey, Joseph G, you just booked a call with us. Congratulations to you. We look forward to talking to you, Joseph. We look forward to helping you get hired fast. Okay. So like stories, let me ask you this. What % of human decision-making is emotional and what % is logical? Put it in the chat if you would, please, right? What is it? 50-50, 60-40, 40-60, right? What's the ratio? Like when humans make decisions, what % is emotional and what % is logical? Let's see if anybody gets this right. Right? What's the ratio? So David says 90-10, right? Rebecca, I think we already gave you something, but Rebecca just got it right. And Dan got it right. So Rebecca and Dan, we're going to make sure that you have that free LinkedIn course. You're absolutely right. Human decision-making is 100% emotional. It's not just 90% or 60%, it's 100%. And the reason we know this is because when somebody gets their limbic system damaged, right? They get like a railroad spike or something through it, like their capacity for emotion, they're fine, except they can't make a single decision. And that becomes the debilitating part, right? So human decision-making is 100% emotional. So there's all these cats walking around saying, we make data-driven decisions. No, you don't. Nobody does, right? When you first got on this workshop today, you made a quick decision about whether you liked me, the sound of my voice, right? The font I was using on the first slide. You made very quick emotional decisions about all of it. And now you're just like rationalizing those decisions with the data you're now getting, right? But the original decision is always emotional. It's always very quick. And our capacity for emotion is like 40 million bits a second. And our capacity for logic is like 20 bits a second, right? Our capacity for emotion is orders of magnitude greater. And so the reason stories are so important, as Maya Angelou taught us, is people are going to remember how you make them feel. And that's where stories come in. That's how we convey emotion. So rather than seek out jobs based on the facts, right? Let me give you some data, right? Nah, you want to tell stories because that's what people are going to remember. Make your application a story, your resume, your cover letter, your interview, all of it, right? And realize that the title that you apply to yourself or that others apply to you is just that. It's just a story. So I'll give you an example. Notice I'm about to tell a story. One time I was managing a program and a bunch of applications, like overwhelming number of applications. And in this one application, this woman, Maggie, explained how the summer before she'd been in a terrible car wreck and her arm had been severed. Wow, that's quite a story. I really remember. So we accepted Maggie into the program. And before she came the first day, I'm like thinking about, okay, what accommodations do we need to make for this one-armed woman and all the rest? She walks in the first day, 2 arms. Now it was bandaged from where it had been partially severed and reattached, and she was doing some physical therapy. Maggie was going to be okay. Now, was I mad? Of course not. I was so glad Maggie had both her arms. And I remember that story to this day. So what stories can you share, right, that shows possibility for them in your job search? Okay, guys, here we go. I got another giveaway for you. Hey, Jennifer D, you just booked a call. Nice job. All right, we look forward to talking to you, Jennifer. All right, so who's this guy? What's this guy called? Put it in the chat if you would, please. What's this guy's name? I'll give you a hint. He lives in Idaho. What's this guy's name called? Right? He supports Pedro, right? Napoleon, Kevin, and Rebecca. Man, Rebecca's on the stick, right? But I see Kevin, Neil. We're going to give it to Karina too. We're also going to give it to David. So Kevin, Karina, and David, we're going to give you that course about LinkedIn, right? Good job. This is Napoleon Dynamite. So those of you who aren't familiar with this fine piece of cinema, first of all, stop your job search, go watch this. I mean, come on, people, we're trying to create a society here. And let me tell you, set up the story here. So Napoleon is a high school kid. He sort of beats to his own drummer. And in this particular scene, Napoleon's on stage in front of an entire high school. The entire student body's watching him. He's managed to get a cassette tape of music up to the sound booth that's starting to play. And now hey, that's okay, Bernardo. If you're on delay, that's okay. Poor Bernardo's on delay. That's okay, buddy. Right? But Napoleon has to do some sort of performance. So the music starts to play. Napoleon's standing there, and he just does the craziest dance you've ever seen. I mean, it's wild. He metaphorically opens the kimono, right? It is crazy. And when he's done, he's sort of panting and sweaty, and all of his classmates are like this, and then they burst into applause. And the reason it works is because it's so authentic. Jamie Kern-Lima, the founder of It Cosmetics, says, everybody's a good dancer if they commit fully, and she's right. And this brings us to our third strategy, which is authenticity. People are going to hire you because of who you are, not in spite of it. Let me ask you a question. Who do humans hire? I'll answer. Humans. Robots don't hire humans. Humans don't hire robots. Now, some of you, I can hear you right now. You're like, but Eric, what about the ATS? What about the AI? Right? What about all of that? Right? Stop. Right? Humans. And those of you who've been like trying to make your resume ATS friendly and jumping through all those hoops, how's that been going? I'm so sorry. Right? I'm sorry. Don't humans hire humans. The reason they're going to hire you is because of who you are, not in spite of it. Hey, Andre, we look forward to talking to you, man. Andre's going to show up. He's going to be open to invest in himself. And yeah, we're going to get Andre hired fast. Nice job, Andre. Okay. So like authenticity. Instead of trying to be proficient in Microsoft Office, be the best Michelle and the best Andre you can. Humans hire humans. The opportunity in this increasingly automated world is to be more of yourself, not less. Let me ask you a question. What's the one reason they're going to hire you? I'll give you a hint. It's not your skills. It's not your experience. It's not even if they like you. It's if they trust you. So those of you who've been busy hiding your age by mysteriously the graduation dates just disappear. Well, I wonder what that could be about, right? Or you've got that big paragraph at the top of your resume, my executive summary. Let me tell you all about myself and me. Stop. Right? Or some of you who somebody told you, well, you only need to put the last 15 years experience on there. Yeah, that person probably has about 15 years experience that told you that. Remember, it's never the scandal. It's always the cover up. So you want to be authentic. Perfect example. I've got so many. We had a client last year. She was out of Vegas, and this was her idea. She started putting on her resume 2 truths and a lie at the bottom. I stole that immediately because it's genius. She got 2 interviews and 2 offers just from doing that. Right? I had another client earlier this year come up with things I'm most afraid of. Guess what's now at the bottom of my resume? Because Brene Brown's taught us that the way we build trust is through vulnerability, right? And what better way to build vulnerability and be like, yeah, here's all the things I'm scared of. I'm human, right? Let everybody else be perfect. Let everybody else jump through the ATS hoops. The opportunity for you is to not do any of that. Be human, get hired fast. All right, guys, authenticity is your superpower. So give me 6 hours to cut down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And this brings us to the idea of systems. The results you're currently getting in your job search are perfectly attuned to your current systems. And trust me, you've got some systems, right? They're just not working very well. So the opportunity, if you want to get different results, right? Hey, Glenn R., we look forward to talking to you, right? If you want to get different results than the results you've been getting, what you're going to want to do is change your system, right? Now, here's the thing, and you want a system where you work smart, not hard, right? Rather than like ramping it up first, you want to make sure it's working, right? You want to iterate. If what you've been doing hasn't been working, you want to iterate until it does. There's no such thing as a failed experiment, right? And remember, this isn't about you, right? This isn't about you're a bad person or you've got mustard on your shirt. Nah, you're fine. Your system sucks, right? Because here's what this system a lot of you have been using. And I got to hand it to you. You have worked this system to the hilt. I mean, it's got the sticky gear shift and like the, you've used every combination of settings on this system and you're wondering why you can't get more traction in your job search. Here's why. This is the system that's available. You just don't know about this system. Right? You've been using this system. So the opportunity is to get better results by using this system. Now, you could spend a lot of time and money trying to figure out how to get from this to this, or you could just get some help and get this handled, right? So we're going to be talking a little bit more about systems. All right. So how do you put this all to work? Right? So there's a lot of ways. Again, I mentioned this briefly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this now. I have a program. We get you hired in 3 months or less with a guarantee that if that doesn't happen, we stay with you till we do. It's a lot of one-on-one coaching and group coaching, and there's a course and there's a community, and it's amazing. And you don't have to worry if it works. It does, right? We've got the receipts to show it. The question is, do you just want to invest in yourself and that stuff? But let me show you an example, right? And then we're going to talk about how to, we're going to give you 9 tactics after this. I'm not going to talk about the program yet, but let's show them an example. We're going to play Angel, right? So Angel came to this workshop. This was end of last year. She watched this program and she decided to invest in herself. Here's the result she got. Let's show them Angel, please. In the time we've got left, I'm curious, especially if there's somebody we haven't heard from yet. They've had a win, a loss. Angel, I got to ask you, what do we know, if anything? What do we know?
I got the
Yay!
job.
Whoa!
The offer. I'm moving in a week. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know when we first met, you're like, oh, like, let's get something by your birthday. And my birthday is in 4 days, so I was able to do it. Yay!
And I just want to acknowledge you. Like, you dove in, you did it, you did the work.
Thank you.
Way to go.
It would not have been possible without like signing up for this program. Truly, I think it made the difference for me.
So good, Angel.
Yeah.
Really happy for you.
Yeah.
Super awesome. Congratulations to you. Yeah. Yay, Angel. So awesome. All right. So let's talk about this 9 tactics, how you can operationalize some of this. All right. So here we go. So folks, this is one of those things that if you get nothing out of this workshop, I really want you to pay attention, come back to me. And this is the point at which I like to talk real fast because some people watch the replay and they put me on 2 times speed already. So if I talk like this, it really freaks them out because that's about 9 times speed. Let's say there's a lake and in the middle of the lake, somebody's drowning. Now they're surrounded by other people in little boats, right? So somebody's in the middle of the lake drowning and they're surrounded by other people in little boats. If metaphorically that was a job search, who's the person drowning? Put it in the chat. Let's see if anybody gets it right. Okay, so somebody's in the middle of the lake drowning and they're surrounded by other people in little boats. If that was a job search, who's the person drowning? Put it in the chat if you would, please. Right? So Eric says it's me. Long live Eric's, right? Eric says it's me. Let's see if we get some other answers, right? So Annette says yeah, me too. I hear you, Annette, right? Tony says it's me. I got you, Tony, right? Luba says it's me. Rosella says it's me. Sarah Sickle Cow. Sarah Sickle Cow, you got it right? And JD Brown got it right too. So let's make sure we take care of Sarah and JD. It's the employer. It may feel like we're the ones drowning, right? If we've got bills and we've got family and all the rest, it can feel like we're drowning. You're not the one drowning. It's the employer that's drowning. And the reason we know they're the ones drowning is they've told us. They said, help, we're drowning. We're drowning in work. The people in the boats are actually the applicants. Now, some of those applicants are going to row up and be like, oh, pick me. I'm drowning. I need your help. And the person who's actually drowning is going to be like, well, I need help, but not from her, right? Like, not from that guy, right? That's needy is creepy. Like, I don't know what that guy's deal is, right? Other people are rowing up and saying, hey, employer, you're drowning. That's horrible. That must be so scary. Let's have a conversation to see how we can get you out of the water so you're safe. But what's important here is not that I'm the one that saves you. What's important here is you don't drown and die. Hey, Jonathan W., we look forward to talking to you, man. Nice job booking a call. You're right on time. This is a great time to be job searching, right? The employer is the one that's drowning. And yet, hey, Jenna K., we look forward to talking to you too, right? All these people with J names are booking calls. It's amazing, right? So we look forward to talking to you. So it can feel like we're the one drowning and we're not. And this brings us to tactic number 1, which is mindset. Right? A lot of people approach this, and you may be guilty of this yourself, of like, I hope they pick me. Hey, Kevin K., we look forward to talking to you as well. Nice work, right? I hope they pick me. And you don't want to come from that mindset of scarcity, right? Realize that they would be lucky to get you. You want to approach this not from a place of need or a place of selling yourself. You want to approach this from a place of service, right? Selling yourself is weird. Hey, Robert M., we look forward to talking to you, man. Nice work, right? Selling people is weird. Buying people is even weirder. We've gone over this historically, right? Like you don't want to be in the business of selling yourself. And by the way, nobody wants to be sold to. They want to be served, right? So this is the opportunity mindset. All right, guys, on to next tactic here. Some of you have seen the show Deadliest Catch, right? Alaskan fishermen out on the Bering Sea. It's usually pretty dangerous. They put these big steel cages on the bottom of the ocean floor with a little bit of bait, hoping to catch some crab. And sure enough, right, when they're lucky, a little crab comes along and says, oh, free food. And Bob the crab goes in, and then Sally and Cheryl and, like Joe the crab, and more and more crabs join. But eventually, one of the crabs is like, the bait's gone. I'm out of here, boys. Now, here's the interesting part. Whenever a crab tries to leave, the other crabs will pull that crab back in. They'll even pull off one of their legs. They'll even do a crab murder to keep that other crab from leaving, because instinctively, crabs feel safe when they're with other crabs. And this brings us to tactic number 2, which is environment, right? Some of you are spending a lot of time thinking, oh, I can't get a job because of the economy, or I had a bad boss, and I'm sorry if that was true for you. Or, I have procrastination, or I have imposter syndrome. I don't know if that's true or not, but what I can say is it's more than likely it's your environment, your physical, social, emotional, psychological environment, your intellectual environment. So, right, environment eats motivation for lunch. And most people don't even consider it. It's one of the main things we help people do in our program is to optimize their environment as best they can. And sometimes you got family, and your family members are like, "Ooh, we just want you to be safe because we love you. Just settle. Take that job for $45,000. At least you'll have a job." And they mean well, and it's not helpful. It's like those other crabs pulling the other crabs back in, right? So we want to love our family, and we want to optimize our environment, right? We want to be really intentional. We want to safeguard it. Right? That you may be familiar with the idea of reference groups, right? Where the average weight, income, education of the 5 people we hang out with most. And these can be people on TV. These can be an author that wrote 100 years ago that we're now reading today. That's all our environment. It all counts. All right. Tactic number 3. It's hard to hit a blurry target, right? This brings us to the idea of vision. what's the proverb? Like, where there is no vision, the people perish, right? Sometimes I will ask job seekers, I'll be like, well, how much money do you want to make? And they'll be like, well, anywhere from like $50,000 to $150,000. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Hey, David H., we look forward to talking to you, man. Nice job booking a call, right? Like, they'll be like, well, I want to help people. Well, I'm like, that's beautiful. And it's really effing vague, right? Like there's this idea of the reticular activating system, which is basically the part of our brain that is guided by what we tell it to look for. And if we're not telling it to look for anything specific, it'll be blind to everything, right? What's the Bruce Lee quote? He says, be careful what you tell yourself, your body's listening. If I say the color red right now, you're all now instantly more aware of the color red just because I said it, just because I put it in your brain, right? Right. So it's like when you go and buy a new car and you're like, nobody's got this car. And then you drive off the lot and you see like 5 of those cars. You're like, where are all these cars? You just weren't seeing them before because you weren't telling your brain to look for them. Right. And so you want to have real specificity in your job search, right? You want to have real clarity around what's available for that company, what they need, right? And how they could be helped. That's what you want to have clarity on. It's not just nice to have, it's vital. There's a reason when race car drivers drive 500 miles in a circle that they don't look at the outer wall. It's because the car is going to tend to go where they look. So if you don't have vision, if you're just sort of like, you don't have the compass before you go into the forest or the map before you go into the forest, right? You're just going to drive around in circles in your job search. Some of you may have experienced that firsthand. All right, guys, here's another one for the chat. Here we go. If I went to the store and I bought this thing, right? Okay, Dan, I didn't know about that one, but it sounds like you know what you're talking about, right? I went to a store and I bought this thing. What would I be buying? Put it in the chat if you would, please. If I went to a store and I bought this, what am I actually buying? Put it in the chat. Let's see if anybody gets this one. Right? What am I actually buying here, folks? So Megan says a power drill. Karina says a drill, right? Alessandra says drill. Eric says brand. JD said multifaceted. Michael says time. Not bad, Michael. Right? Karina says a Ryobi power. Wait, Mark, I see you, Mark. Right? I saw Mark had it. Mark, right? I saw Mark and Hong Yin, right? So Mark McNabb and Hong Yang. You guys are the first ones I see with the right answer. You're actually buying a hole, right? Nobody needs one of these sitting around their house. What they actually need is a hole. And actually, now that I think about it, Mark, we're going to send you that course, Mark and Han Yang. So Jill and Justin, make sure we write those guys' names down. But actually, I don't need a bunch of holes in my wall. What I really need is a place to put the hook. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't want a bunch of hooks come out on my wall, I'll gash my arm open, right? What I really need is a place to hang the picture. Actually, I really don't care about the picture. What I really want is the feeling that I get when I look at the picture of my beautiful family that's hanging on the hook, that's in the hole that was made by the drill. So this brings us to the idea of giving them safety. Some people, and maybe some of you, are busy hiding your age. Hey, Stephen F., we look forward to talking to you, right? Some of you have been spending a lot of time like hiding your age, right? And trying to trick the ATS and trying to look good and even caring what they think about. Stop doing that, right? If the reason they're going to hire you is that they trust you, then what we want to focus on is making them feel safe, giving them safety. And the reason mindset's so important is if we ourselves feel like we're the ones drowning, that we're not safe, it's really hard to give that away. So what you want to do instead is get really clear about what they like, want, and need and talk about that. We want to make them feel seen, heard, and understood. If we can get to what keeps them up at night when they're staring at the ceiling trying to go to sleep, game over, right? You don't have to worry about the gap in your resume or your age or any of that stuff, right? If we can get to that thing, it's not even fair. Do you see how this is so much more sophisticated than maybe some of the stuff you've been hearing and hasn't been working for you, right? How can you make them feel seen, heard, and understood? We want to give them safety. This is one of the main ways that clients that join my program get hired fast. They just make this change and everything changes. All right, tactic number 5, here we go, right? So resumes, which are kind of stupid. They're sort of like the least bad way we've come up, the least bad idea we've come up with since like Roman times, right? Resumes, right? This brings us to the idea of paper. The last thing you want to do is follow best practices, right? We don't want to make our resume look like everybody else because it's just going to be like professional camouflage, right? So there's software that's like, we'll format your resume and we'll do all the things. Hey, Arthur T, we look forward to talking to you, man. Nice job, right? Like we'll do all the things. You want your resume to be the most Arthur resume possible, the most Karina resume possible, right? And you want to do some things that are different. You want to make the resume about them, right? Realize that how you communicate, when you communicate, with who you communicate, what you say, it all matters. And people are going to believe what you show them more than what you tell them. I mentioned this earlier. Like some of you have that, some of you, I love this. It makes me laugh, right? Will apply to a job and you'll put the title of the job like as like a subtitle of your resume, thinking, well, we're trying to hire an ancient Babylonian cabinet maker. And what are the chances that Bob, it's on his resume. Bob's an ancient Babylonian cabinet maker. It's meaningless, right? It doesn't, and that paragraph of stuff like I'm a highly trained executive and blah, blah, blah. There's no context. When were you a highly trained executive? Like, right? So stop doing all that, right? Don't do that. A lot of the things that you've probably been hearing with resumes are just really bad. It's just bad. It just doesn't work. And so the opportunity is to do things differently, right? You want to communicate with employers in a way they can't ignore, right? For instance, hyperlinks. Do you have hyperlinks in your resume? If not, why not? Right? They might not click them, but at least it shows them that you're somebody who knows how to use technology. You know how to think four-dimensionally, right? All sorts of opportunities. And resumes are more art than science. Anybody tells you there's one right way is full of it. But the opportunity to make it super authentic, to tell stories, and to make it about them. All right, guys, next tactic. Here we go. If a job application is submitted and there is no follow-up, does it even make a sound? I would humbly suggest that it doesn't. And this brings us to the idea of follow-up, right? So like a lot of people apply and they're just like, well, hope I hear back on that one. Don't do that. Or they apply and maybe they find the contact information and they follow up with a recruiter who's like a professionally trained ninja to keep you away from the hiring manager. Because if you talk to the hiring manager, then the recruiter sort of has no reason to exist. So they have a real emphasis on, please don't contact the recruiter because you have to go through me. So I have a job. Don't do any of that, right? You want to follow up from a place of service. Follow up. And by the way, when you follow up, the last thing you're going to want to do is, hey, I just wanted to check in, or, hey, I'm really passionate about, that's all about you. We want to make it about them. Now, some of you are saying, but Eric, a lot of times they don't have the contact info on the job. Let me help you. Okay. I have a little mini course. It's called How to Contact Anybody. I'm going to give it to you now. Those of you who are live, and I suppose those of you who watch the replay, you could get away with this too. Here's how you get this free course. You got to do three things. One, you're going to go to my LinkedIn, which we're going to put in the chat right now. Thank you, Jessa and Jelly. You're going to go to my LinkedIn profile. You're going to hit follow, and then you're going to message me the word chicken, right? You do those three things. You go to my LinkedIn profile, you hit follow, you message me the word chicken on LinkedIn. We will send you this course about how to contact anybody. And then you'll always be able to contact whoever you want and like make it about them. That's how you get their attention. All right. And some of you are like, "Ooh, I don't." So I hope that I'm just going to say this one more time. Go to my LinkedIn, follow me, write the word chicken in LinkedIn in mail, and we'll send you this set course. I hope that serves you guys. Right. And some of you are like, "Ooh, I don't want to follow up because it's so pushy." Well, think about if you were the one in the boat and somebody was lying face down in the water and you said, "Hey buddy, are you okay?" And they didn't move. You wouldn't be like, I don't want to bother them. Right now, you jump in the water, you swim over, you flip them over, you start doing mouth to mouth. And if they came to and they're like, "Lady, I was just snorkeling," you'd be like, "I'm so sorry, my bad." And you would be willing to offend in the name of service. That's what we want to do here. I had a client, this was just a couple of days ago. She asked on our group, she texted me on our group community. She said, "Hey, Eric, I want to follow up, but they have this really scary message about, please don't contact us directly. Hey, Michael K, we look forward to talking to you." Right. And so do I want to follow up? I'm like, yeah, this would be like somebody who was choking. Right. And you said, do you need help? And they shake their head. Right. You would listen to them. Right. You give them the Heimlich. They just don't realize they need the help. We want to be willing to offend in the name of service. Right. We want to come from a place of service. Absolutely, 1,000,000%. Okay. Next tactic. Here we go. Hey, Larissa R. We look forward to talking to you. Nice job booking a call with us. Right. Sometimes, like some of you may have seen and James is asking how much the course talks. We're going to talk about the course, James, here in a little bit. But before we get into talking about costs, like we got to figure out if we can even help you, James. We can help a lot of people, but we're not going to charge people we can't help. So that's why we want to talk to them. But we're going to get to the course here in a second. So some of you have seen the Hey Abby N, right? Nice job booking a call, Abby N. We look forward to talking to you. Some of you have seen the Academy Awards, and like the actor will get up there and win some big prize, and they're like, "Oh, I got nobody to thank," right? And all the movie stars are sort of looking around sort of awkwardly, and they're sort of killing. No, that doesn't happen. right? The movie star gets up there and she's like, I got to thank this person and this person, this person. They're playing the music. They're trying to get her off stage. And like when people do great things, we ask for help. Some of you are thinking that asking for help makes you look weak, and you are laboring under a misinterpretation of reality, right? Benjamin Franklin told us that if you want to make a friend, don't do him a favor, ask him for help. And he's right? When we ask for help, it's a gift, because we wouldn't ask for somebody's help unless it was worth asking for, right? Have you guys ever helped anybody? How did it feel? I already know the answer. So a lot of you, if I went to your Google contacts, and let's say you had 1,000 contacts, I'd be like, well, how many of these people know you're on the job hunt? And you'd be like, well, a good number, and I'd say, okay, well, how many? Well, maybe 300. Great. How would they know? Well, I posted on LinkedIn 4 months ago. And I'd be like, so all of those 300 people would have had to gone to LinkedIn on that day and seen your post and remembered it from the last 3 months. And now you'd be like, maybe I'm getting nervous, right? The opportunity for you is you want to have a system for using your network. Now, some of you have a system where it's sort of like fishing with a single line, right? And you got to get the right bait on the right fish at the right time at the right depth. And I mean, I guess that could work, but boy, that sounds like a lot of work and need a lot of luck. What we want to do instead is have a system that filters the effing ocean. Right? We want to filter the ocean, because the opportunities are probably never going to be where we think they are, right? And if we're filtering the ocean consistently, we don't have to worry about missing it, right? We're going to have a system for this. That's how a lot of my clients get hired fast, right? Asking for help makes you look strong, not weak. Vulnerability builds trust, as Brene Brown has taught us. Remember, you want to have a system. You don't want networking to be a one-off endeavor. All right, guys, we're in the final stretch here. Let's talk about interviews. Who wants the best interview advice in the world, right? Who wants the best interview advice in the world? Here it is. I'm about to give you the interview advice. So please make sure you have something to write with, because this is very high level. I'm sort of being full of it now, right? So here's the interview advice. Here it is. Don't answer their questions, right? Some of you, I see you there, Dan. Hey, let's give Dan Murphy that course about LinkedIn, right? I like people who are like, me. That's good, Dan. We're going to send Dan Murphy that LinkedIn course. I appreciate that, right? So like some of you, right, are going into interviews worried about getting the right answer. Realize that they're real. Now, like if it's a technical interview, right, where they're like, what does 1 + 1 equal? Yeah, okay, a technical interview, that's a different thing. There's some like real things there, okay? So what they're only really asking one question in an interview, and here's the question: can we trust you? That's really it, right? If we had a universal translator it was an interview translator, we'd be like, tell me about a time you had a proud professional achievement, and we go, can we trust you? Tell me about yourself. Can we trust you? That's all they're really asking. So when you go into an interview, rather than try and answer their question, just give answers and tell stories that are going to build trust. They won't even remember the question they asked, and we're going to make it about them, right? Stop focusing on the question. Stop focusing on yourself. Focus on them. Give answers and tell stories that are going to build trust. That's really what they're asking. So you might as well just go straight there. Let all your competitors actually try and answer the question. All right, guys, final tactic. Here we go. Let's talk about offers. Sometimes, hey, Brian S., we look forward to talking to you. Nice job, Brian. Right? Sometimes, right, I'll find prospective our job seekers, and I'll be like, well, are you applying to a lot of things? And they're like, no, Eric, I'm not. I'm very deliberate about where I apply, because if I apply and then I get the offer, then I have to move my family to Connecticut, and negative default future. You only have to worry about 2 things on this. 1, you don't have to worry if you're qualified for a job. They will have an opinion, right? So stop worrying about that, right? 2, you don't have to worry if you want the job unless and until they make an offer, because unless and until that happens, you're just sort of negotiating with yourself. And even if you do get an offer and it's not something that you're interested in, what you can do then is approach it from a place of curiosity and possibility. Instead of saying, well, I can't do this, you want to say, hey, how can I, you want somebody who can do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. How can I do it for that much money? Or how can I move my family? Right? You want to live in possibility. A lot of times people pay for this program and then some just by us helping them negotiate offers, which they get a lot of because they're getting a lot of because they're in this program, right? You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. So you can apply liberally from a place of service, right? You might find something that you love by accident or vice versa. All right, guys, so write this down. And I saw some of you who were like worried that you came a little bit late to the interview. Hey, Morgan T, we look forward to talking to you. Nice job, Morgan. So write this down, right? You're in your job search, you're going to want to have 4 strategies. You want to talk about them, right? Tell stories, come from a place of authenticity, have systems, right? Mindset, your environment. You're going to want to have vision. You're going to want to give them safety, have your paper put together. You're going to want to follow up, network, interviews, offers. This is how you get hired fast. So look, a lot of people attend this workshop and they're like, that was amazing. I'm going to go off and do this on my own. And a lot of times I hear from them about 6 months later and they're like, Eric, it's not working. And I'll like, show me. And they're not doing it, right? Instead of talking about the thing that keeps people up at night, they're talking about the drill. Or they instead of saying, here's what's possible for your company, they're saying, here's how I can help. There's these little subtle differences, right? And so that's why you definitely, if what you've been doing hasn't been working, if the system that you currently have hasn't been working, you want to have a different system. Absolutely, right? And this stuff is not Googleable, right? Some of you are probably saying this may be some stuff you've heard before, but a lot of the stuff actually contradicts a lot of the stuff that comes up if you Google. This stuff is different. It's stuff that I've worked out myself through my own career and through helping like over 1,000 people get hired fast over the last 5 years. Actually, it's probably more than that now, more than 1,000, right? So I have a program. It's called Get Hired Fast. The idea is we get you hired in 3 months or less. That's the guarantee we offer. And if that doesn't happen, we stay with you until you do get hired. It's a lot of one-on-one coaching. It's got, as a cohort, we're meeting now 4 times a week, right? 4 times a week that where you get that much support. I'm leading a lot of the sessions. My other coaches are. And it's not like 300 people, folks. Usually at any given time, we have 20, 25 clients. So it's a lot of one-on-one personalized attention. Like I said, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, there's a course and there's an online community. And you don't have to worry if this works. We have the receipts. Okay. So I'm just going to go through a few of these examples here. So Jessie was somebody who led a nonprofit. She'd been on the job hunt for about 7 or 8 months, joined our program, got like 2 or 3 offers that she actually didn't want. She was sort of like, Eric, do I have to accept these? I'm like, of course you don't. Right. She finally got an offer she wants. It's the job she's doing now. She's crushing it. Right. Robert was somebody, a mid-career guy who was just starting his job search. He was actually coming from overseas. And he was like, Eric, I don't want to be one of these people that's looking for a job for 3 months. I'm like, let's make sure you're not. He joined the program. I think we got him hired in like 6 or 7 weeks. Hey, Christian M., we look forward to talking to you, right? Wayne, again, was in our program. He got a bunch of offers before he finally said yes. John was kind of a tech CEO. He was wanting a really senior level position. And we worked with him and he found that CEO position. Amy was somebody who was also a really senior communications person. And her deal was she kept going into interviews and she would get right to the end and then she got the no. So we worked with her and she found a job that she was based out of New York City that she really liked. Philip was an early professional. We got him 2 offers at once. All sorts of examples here. And then there's Angel, who I think you heard from earlier, right? We showed you Angel earlier. So you remember Angel. I want to show you another clip right now. Let's show him Andrew. Here's just another example of somebody that did this program and got hired fast. Let's show him Andrew, if you would, please.
I got a job offer thanks to Win at Work. I really appreciate all the help and materials and one-on-one coaching. I applied cold to an organization I was interested in and received the automated response, we're pursuing other candidates. And then there was another posting for the same role or similar role in the same organization. And this time I really used a lot of the Win at Work process. I also really appreciate the coaching I received on interview prep from my coach, Patrick, and the Win at Work materials on interview prep. I feel like I really impressed the HR recruiter. She scheduled me for another interview with program directors a couple days later. They were also really impressed and said I had a lot of good answers, and I really just did what I learned in this program. Make it about them, talk about them, be authentic, and now I have my new job offer.
Way to go, Andrew, right? Way to go. And notice in there that he ignored, this is one of the things we help clients do. He ignored the initial no. He got that automated no. He just ignored it, right? Now he's in that job, right? Awesome. All right, guys. So look, some of you are like, well, I'm just going to think about it. I'm going to wait, right? I'm just going to wait. And guys, don't do that, right? Because this is like the perfect time of year, right? Right? This is the perfect time of year, right? We get this job stuff sorted, right? September, October, November. It's like a sweet spot, right? The only other time I know that's maybe as good is like January, February, March, right? You're coming up on a really powerful time. So if you're going to get this done, now is the time. And what you may not realize is it's costing you to be on the job search, right? If this is how much money you're wanting to make, this is how much it's costing you per month not to work. Here's how much it's costing you per week. So if we can get you hired a couple weeks sooner, which we will, you're going to pay for this program and then some, right? And the idea is it's sort of like going to the gym. Like you can go by yourself and work out and you'll get muscles eventually, or you can work with a trainer and you're going to get bigger muscles faster. It's the same thing here. It just depends on how much money you want to spend job searching and how long you want to wait, right? This is sort of the roadmap of the program, and we cover everything from mindset to clarity to get your LinkedIn figured out to your resume and your cover letter and your follow-up and your networking and your interviews and all the pieces, right? And this isn't like, we do have a course, but this isn't you just figuring this out on your own. You're actually working with real life humans, myself included, right? Some of you are worried about money, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this. Well, I don't know. Maybe the question is you can't, maybe you can't not afford it, right? If this is how much it's costing you, right? So we have payment plans that are available. Again, if your credit's anything good at all, they start at like a couple, I think the figure I saw the other day was like $200 a month or something to get started. Because a lot of times people ask me, they're like, hey, can I pay you after I get the job? Like almost, right? You just get financing. Hey, Brandon, we look forward to talking to you, right? A few $100s a month. You pay the rest when you get the job. And the guarantee is we place 100% of people that join our program, right? Like we're not going to leave you. Like if you stick with us, we'll stick with you. And for most people, that's 3 months or less, sometimes a lot shorter than 3 months. So again, we've got the receipts. This program really works. Yeah. The question is just like, do you want to like keep doing what you've been doing, or do you just want to get this stuff handled? So my invitation to you is, if this is something you're interested in finding out more about, you're going to book a strategy session. Here are 3 requirements for this session. 1, you're not going to just book a call and cancel. Some of you have experienced that in your job search with like recruiters ghosting you. Like, how's that feel? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't be that person, right? Take a stand for yourself. Show up. If you're going to book a call, show up when you say you're going to show up. 2, if you're just sort of kicking the tires and looking around, like, let us know when you're ready and you'll come back to us. And 3, you're going to be at least open to investing in yourself, right? At least open. You want people to pay you a real American dollars to do a job. You're going to pay us a few real American dollars. And again, you're going to save a lot of money by doing this. So come book a call. Let's drop the link in the chat one more time, guys, just for people who are interested. And I see a lot of people who have questions, and I saw a lot of really good ones. So I'm going to now show you my full gigantic head so you can see the full girth of it. And let's answer some questions. We've got some time here. Okay, so Jessa and Jelly, what are some good questions for us, if you would please? Hi, Monica L. You booked a call. We look forward to talking to you. So Damon says, what about ageism? Thank you so much, Damon. And look, there's a lot of isms out there, folks. Racism, ageism, sexism, ableism. I'm not going to say that the world is a fair place, because that would be inaccurate. And at the end of the day, the reason they're going to hire you is that they trust you. So it's possible that somebody doesn't trust you because they feel like they can't relate to you because of your age. That's possible. So the opportunity is to give them safety. I'm not saying any of this is right or your fault or any of that, Damon, right? But like, stop worrying about age. And by the way, here's sort of the dynamic here. Like, so when people are worried about ageism, the standard advice is, well, make sure you hide your age on your resume. What message does that send? Hey, I want you to trust me to hire me, but I don't trust you to not to be ageist, right? It's the worst possible thing you could do, right? Remember, it's never the scandal, it's always the cover up. So that's how I would deal with ageism, or frankly, any ism for that matter. I'm not saying it's fair, not saying it's right, definitely exists. And the way to overcome it is just to show them what's possible and to build trust. And then those isms tend to go away. Hopefully. That's what I would say about that. All right. Hey, Kyle K. We look forward to talking to you. Nice job, man. All right. Next question. Karina, let's talk about LinkedIn. Should we post it? We're looking for a job, pros, cons. So I don't know that there are any cons, right? The only con would be, let's say you're in a job and there's sort of internal politics. You don't necessarily want your current employer to know that you're looking around. That would be the only circumstance under which I would, not post it, because otherwise, the only reason to hide the fact that you're looking for a job is if, you somehow think that it makes you look bad, or there's something to be ashamed of. There's not, like, everybody got their first job. Most people like lose a job and are looking for the next one. So this doesn't, being unemployed doesn't make you bad. It just makes you human. And guess what? That's good news, because humans hire humans. So I would put it out there. And by the way, people are out there looking for opportunities to help. There's very few things in the world that feel better than helping another person. So we can argue, Karina, and I say this with a lot of love, Karina, I don't know you, right? But if you or anybody else was concealing the fact that you're on a job hunt, why are you being so stingy giving people the opportunity to help you? Stop doing that. Let people help you. It's a gift. And when they do, your success becomes their success. And they can be like, Karina, I helped her get that job. And so maybe I'm not such a disaster after all. Maybe I'm a good person. So I would 100% put it on there without delay. That's what I would say. All right. Hey, Matthew B. We look forward to talking to you, man. Good job, Matthew B. All right. Who else has a question? Let's see here. So D, D, I hear you about cost. Look, a lot of people can get started in this program for a couple $100. And, sort of depending on how we think we can help people, we charge them different things. But like, if you're able to book a call, like in the sequence in there, it offers gives you a sense of cost. But I don't want to get into talking about cost right now because we don't know if we can help you, D. It sort of would be like going to the doctor and being like, doctor, give me medicine before the doctor's like had a chance to examine you, right? You don't want to do that. So, but I will say if you're, wanting to make anywhere in the neighborhood of like $100,000 a year, you can sort of do the math on what it's costing you, and we get you hired in a couple weeks sooner. You're gonna come out ahead. Hi, Camilla L or Camilla Y. We look forward to talking to you. Okay, other questions here. What other questions do we have? Jessa and Jelly are scrambling, right? So Sweeta, here we go. How do you know who you can help and who you can't help? Well, that's a great question, Sweeta. Thanks, Jessa and Jelly. So we've helped a lot of people, right? And one of the ways that, frankly, is a sign of whether somebody is somebody we can help is like how much they know. Because sometimes, and I hope I'm saying your name right, Sarita. Hi, Sarita. Is that, when somebody comes in and they're like, well, here's all the reasons I know I'm not getting hired. I know it's my age. I know it's the economy. I know the market's saturated. I know that, my former employer is blackballing me. I know that it's this or that. Like, it depends how open they are, right, to challenging those beliefs. Because look, folks, if we're trying to make an airplane fly, right, we want to deal in like fact or fiction, right? Or if we're trying to cure COVID. But when it comes to this job stuff, it's all made up. Salaries, occupations, titles, it's all made up. So rather than ask the question, well, is that true or false? Is it my age or not my age? Is it the market or not my market? Did I give the wrong answer in the interview or not? The real opportunity instead is to ask, is the story I'm telling myself useful for my job search? And if it's not, the opportunity, start telling yourself a different story, right? Start telling yourself a different story. Some of you may be hearing this workshop right now and you're telling yourselves the story, well, that's not for me. I could never afford that. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. I should be able to figure it out. I hope so. Good luck with that. The opportunity and the reason I have like 3 coaches at any given time, and the reason I'm a coach is because my coaches help me break through that. Right? They're like, is that story really true? Or is that just a story you're telling yourself? And I'm like, oh yeah. Right. And all of a sudden doorways open. Right? As soon as we know stuff, possibility ends. That's it. Knowing is where possibility dies, because as soon as we know the answer, it's finite. But when we're open to possibility and we approach this stuff from a place of curiosity, like those of you who booked a call, by the way, I appreciate that. You're we That's one of the ways we know we can help people. If people are curious enough to book a call, that's a good sign, right? That's where possibility lives. So I hope that answers your question, Sarita. Good question, by the way. Let's give Sarita that LinkedIn course. I like that question, Sarita. John C., you booked a call. Nice job, man. All right, Mark McNabb, looking forward to the course. I won. How will you receive more info? I'm glad you got the course. So as long as you're in link, you're so welcome, Sarita. As long as we've got you on LinkedIn, Mark, we will message you. And for some reason you don't get it, just message me on LinkedIn and be like, hey, I was supposed to get the course, you bastards. And we'll make sure you get that free course. We'll make sure we get it to you. You're so welcome, Tanya. You're so welcome. I'm curious if we have any other questions. It's okay if we don't. I'm noticing the time. We're at just about time now. So I just really acknowledge you guys for your questions and for being here. Look, being on a job search is not for the faint of heart. It's really not. And so if you've been on the job search for a while and what you've been doing hasn't been working and you're interested in doing something different than you've been doing to get different results than you've been getting, like, let's talk. On the other hand, if you're really clear, you know what, I just want to keep doing what I've been doing for a while. Like, I'm cheering for you either way. Know there are bright things on the horizon for you regardless, right? You're going to figure this out. The only question here is time. Like, how long is it going to take? So I'm hoping that it takes less time for you than more time. And just appreciate you being here. Yeah, there are bright things on the horizon for you, my friends. Bright things on the horizon for you. Please take care of yourselves. Don't beat yourself up on this, and you can get this figured out. You can get this job stuff handled, and in your corner, 100%. Take care, my friends.